My own children helped my unfaithful wife hide her affair until I walked away from them. Daniel Carter was in the midst of the biggest transformation of his life. He had avoided marriage until he was firmly established in his career. But when he met Rebecca, his first and only wife, everything changed. They were born just 2 months apart and had celebrated their 48th birthdays earlier in the year. When they married, there was nothing to protect, so they had no prenuptial agreement. They had lived in their Austin, Texas home for 22 years, moving in a year after their wedding and welcoming their first child just 2 months later. Their second child arrived 2 years after that, and now both had gone off to college to start their own lives. Recently, Daniel had convinced Rebecca that they should move into a gated community for couples aged 50 and older. She was hesitant, but after months of persuasion, she finally agreed. Once they committed to selling their house, they signed a contract and put down a few thousand in earnest money to hold a new home. Most of their belongings were packed into boxes in preparation for the move, but Daniel had other plans. He had just gotten off the phone with the realtor, withdrawing their offer on the new home. Losing a couple grand was a small price to pay for his escape. Their time in the house was over, and they had to move, but neither of them would be settling into the new place. The closing had taken place 3 days ago, and they had a little over a week to hand over keys. Rebecca believed he had left on a business trip the previous morning. In reality, he hadn't been employed since resigning a week ago. He had purchased a one-way ticket to Miami where a rental car was waiting to take him to the coast. From there, he would board a ship. If everything went according to plan, he would be on his private island retreat within days. Daniel had no intention of divorcing Becca, but he was taking everything: the proceeds from the house sale, his 401k payout, and most of their savings. With a new identity, he planned to spend the rest of his life sailing the Caribbean. Setting up offshore accounts with encrypted banking had been expensive, but now every penny was safely stored in cryptocurrency accounts under his new name. With over 10,000 cryptocurrencies in existence, he could only hope the one he chose wouldn't crash overnight. He planned to convert the digital currency into something more stable as soon as possible, because imaginary things had a way of disappearing at the worst moments, kind of like Rebecca's wedding vows. At around 3 p.m., Daniel called Rebecca. She answered on the fourth ring, sounding slightly distracted. "Hey, babe, how's your trip?" "Same stuff, different city. Long meetings, boring presentations." "Sounds awful." "Yeah, what about you? What are you up to?" "Just boxing up some more stuff." That was lie number one. Rebecca wasn't home. She was 35 minutes away at Ethan Parker's house. Her current lover, whether he was her first affair or just the latest, didn't matter. One was too many. Some men in that position might have lost control, confronted their cheating wife, screamed, demanded explanations. But Daniel wasn't interested in revenge through anger. His revenge would be far more brutal. He was going to leave her with absolutely nothing. Ethan's wife, on the other hand, would leave him with even less. "Are you marking the boxes so we know which ones belong to who?" Rebecca asked. "Of course, dear. Mine are labeled Daniel. Yours say Rebecca. It'll be easy to put them in the right closets when we move." Another lie. Rebecca had no idea that her belongings were currently being packed into a consignment store's moving truck, while his were safely stored away thanks to his brother, Lucas. "Would you mind looking at my desk for my day planner? Should be in the top right drawer." She hesitated. I don't see it." "Are you sure it's there?" Lie number 2. She wasn't even home to check. But Daniel wasn't looking for his planner. He was stalling, giving Lucas more time to finish emptying the house. "No problem. You said you were having lunch with some friends today. Where did you go? Would I know any of them?" "Oh, just a little diner by my office. A few girls from work." Lie number 3. His private investigator had been tracking her all day. At 9 a.m., she drove to Ethan's house. She hadn't left since. "What are you doing for dinner?" he asked. "Probably just ordering a steak from room service. Company covers it." "Nice. What's on tap tonight?" "Just some laundry and more packing." "Oh, I hear the dryer buzzing. I should go. Call me later." "Love you. Talk to you soon." Daniel put the phone down. and let out a slow breath. It was so easy for her to lie now. There was nothing about her he could trust anymore. By that time, the house was completely vacant. Lucas had hired 2 moving trucks and a team of workers to clear everything out as fast as possible. The first truck, filled with Daniel's belongings, was headed to a storage unit Lucas had rented under his name. The second truck was making its 4th trip to the consignment store, where Rebecca's furniture, clothes, and jewelry were being sold piece by piece. Both trucks were due back at the rental shop by 5 p.m. Lucas had earned every cent of the $5,000 Daniel paid him. An overnight package addressed to Daniel's lawyer had already been prepared. Inside, it contained a signed power of attorney document, his house keys, and a garage door opener. Rebecca would have to surrender her keys too. Not that it would matter. By the time she realized what happened, she wouldn't even have a front door to unlock. Daniel hadn't bothered calling her again. When he first discovered Becca's affair, he tried to warn Ethan's wife. She hung up on him. He didn't take it personally. She would still receive the full report, complete with pictures, surveillance footage, and bank statements showing the gifts Ethan had bought Rebecca. It was already on its way, along with 15 other carefully curated packages. Each one contained a detailed letter from him, screenshots of texts and call logs, and photographic evidence of Rebecca and Ethan together. Recipients included Rebecca's parents, siblings, closest friends, boss, co-workers, and, for the final knife twist, their children. He had included a separate note for them. You both knew what was happening and kept quiet. You betrayed me just like she did. So consider this my final goodbye. I won't be looking for you, and I won't be back. But his favorite package, the one addressed to Rebecca herself, was the most satisfying letter he had ever written. Rebecca, by now I'm sure you realize that your infidelity has cost you everything. I have taken all of the liquid assets, our house proceeds, my 401k withdrawal, and the bulk of our savings. I have also taken what I wanted from the house. Everything else is currently being sold off. If you want the remaining money, talk to my lawyer. He will handle the paperwork for the estate's sale personally. Rebecca fell off when she woke up the next morning. Ethan was still asleep beside her, his arm draped lazily over her waist, oblivious. Something about yesterday's conversation with Daniel lingered in her mind. Maybe it was the way he asked about lunch, or how quickly he let her go. Still, she forced herself to push it aside. Today was supposed to be a fresh start. By this time next month, she planned to tell Daniel she wanted a divorce. She and Ethan had already talked about it. He would leave his wife too. They could finally be together openly. But first, she had to go home and pretend everything was normal. She kissed Ethan, threw on her clothes, and drove back to the house, humming along to the radio. As she pulled into the driveway, something fell off. The curtains were open. That was strange. She never left them like that. Then she stepped inside, and her breath caught in her throat. The house was completely empty. Her hands shook as she ran from room to room. No furniture, no clothes, no pictures, not even a single coffee mug. She stumbled into the bedroom, throwing open the closet doors. Empty. The bathroom, empty. The only thing left was an unopened package sitting on the kitchen counter. Slowly, she reached for it, fingers trembling. Inside was a stack of papers, bank statements, legal documents, and a handwritten letter from Daniel. She skimmed the first few pages, and her stomach turned to ice. Daniel had emptied all their bank accounts, sold all their belongings, withdrawn every 401k, and sent evidence of her affair to her family, friends, and even their kids. At the bottom of the letter, taped to the page, was a small silver key. She recognized it immediately. It was a key to her father's revolver. A choked sob escaped her lips. Daniel had left her a way out, and he was daring her to use it. Her phone buzzed. A text from her sister. "What the hell, Becca? I can't believe you. Mom's crying. Dad won't even speak. You disgust me." Then another from her best friend. "You've lost your mind. Don't ever contact me again." Her hands shook as she dialed Daniel's number. It rang twice before a slurred voice answered. "Who's this?" Her breath hitched. "Daniel." A drunken laugh. "Lady, whoever you're looking for, you don't got this phone no more." Click. The line went dead. Rebecca's legs gave out, and she collapsed on the floor. Daniel was gone completely, and he had made sure she had nothing left. Desperate, she drove to the bank, hoping there was something left in their accounts. After an hour of pleading with a stone-faced teller, she got her answer. Daniel had cleaned out everything. Her credit card still worked, for now, but without income, they wouldn't last long. She called every divorce lawyer she could find, hoping to fight back. Every single one turned her away. "You don't have enough for my retainer. I don't take cases like this on contingency. I suggest you get a public defender, ma'am." By the end of the day, she sat alone in a motel room, staring at the revolver key. A bottle of cheap whiskey sat beside her. For the first time in her life, she thought about using the gun, not because she felt guilty, but because she had nowhere else to go. Her phone rang. "Ethan, hey, baby, listen up. My wife found out. She's taken me for everything. I need a place to stay." Rebecca stared at the ceiling. Then she smiled. "Sure, Ethan, come over." When he arrived, she let him in, locking the door behind him. She tossed her purse onto the bed. "Take your clothes off." Ethan smirked. "Now that's more like it." He stripped down, standing completely naked in the middle of the room. Rebecca reached into her purse, fingers wrapping around cold metal. Daniel's parting gift. Ethan's grin faltered. "What are you?" "Point. Aim. Pull the trigger." The gun roared in her hands. A perfect shot right between his eyes. Ethan's body hit the floor with a sickening thud. For a moment, the room was silent. Then Rebecca started laughing. The police didn't believe her story. They arrested her for murder. Her public defender was useless. She wasn't holding out much hope for a fair trial. At least she didn't have to worry about Ethan anymore. But prison was worse than she imagined. She was beaten, humiliated, and used by both inmates and guards. One night, she snapped. She stabbed another inmate in the stomach with a sharpened toothbrush. That got her moved to solitary confinement. It didn't matter. She was already dead inside. Meanwhile, I was living the dream. My lawyer called after 9 months, saying I could return if I wanted. But why the hell would I? I had everything I needed here. The money, the women, the freedom. Occasionally, I sent my kids a card. Inside, I taped a single quarter. "Next time you're faced with a tough decision, flip a coin. It's all I'm leaving you." And Rebecca? She was still in a state mental institution. If she ever recovered, she'd be dragged back to prison for life. Her story was over. Mine? It was just beginning. I sipped my drink, watching the sunset over the Caribbean. A young woman slipped into my lap, laughing, whispering something in my ear. I grinned. Daniel Carter was